Wisdom reaches from one end to another mightily, and sweetly does she order all things. I loved her, and sought her out from my youth. I desired to make her my spouse, and I was a lover of her beauty. In that she is conversant with God, she magnifies her nobility. Yea, the Lord of all things himself loved her. For she is privy to the mysteries of the knowledge of God, and a lover of his works. If riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom, that works all things? And if prudence work, who of all is a more cunning workman than she? And if a man love righteousness, her labors are virtues, for she teaches temperance and prudence, justice and fortitude, which are such things as men can have nothing more profitable in their life. If a man desire much experience, she knows things of old, and conjectures aright what is to come. She knows the subtleties of speeches, and can expound dark sentences. She foresees signs and wonders, and the events of seasons and times. Therefore I purposed to take her to live with me, knowing that she would be a counselor of good things, and a comfort in cares and grief. For her sake I will have estimation among the multitude, and honor with the elders, though I be young. I will be found of a quick conceit in judgment, and will be admired in the sight of great men. When I hold my tongue, they will bide my leisure, and when I speak, they will give good ear to me. If I talk much, they will lay their hands upon their mouth. Moreover, by the means of her I will obtain immortality, and leave behind me an everlasting memorial to them that come after me. I will set the people in order, and the nations will be subject to me. Horrible tyrants will be afraid, when they do but hear of me. I will be found good among the multitude, and valiant in war. After I am come into my house, I will repose myself with her, for her conversation has no bitterness. To live with her has no sorrow, but mirth and joy. Now when I considered these things in myself, and pondered them in my heart, how that to be allied to wisdom is immortality, and great pleasure it is to have her friendship, and in the works of her hands are infinite riches, and in the exercise of conference with her, prudence, and in talking with her, a good report. I went about seeking how to take her to me, for I was a witty child, and had a good spirit. Yea, rather, being good, I came into a body undefiled. Nevertheless, when I perceived that I could not otherwise obtain her, except God gave her to me, and that was a point of wisdom also to know whose gift she was, I prayed to the Lord, and besought him, and with my whole heart I said, O God of my fathers, and Lord of mercy, who has made all things with your word, and ordained man through your wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures that you have made, and order the world according to equity and righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart. Give me wisdom that sits by your throne, and reject me not from among your children. For I, your servant and son of your handmaid, am a feeble person, and of a short time, and too young for the understanding of judgment and laws. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, yet if your wisdom be not with him, he will be nothing regarded. You have chosen me to be a king of your people, and a judge of your sons and daughters. You have commanded me to build a temple upon your holy mount, and an altar in the city where you dwell, a resemblance of the holy tabernacle that you have prepared from the beginning. And wisdom was with you, that knows your works, and was present when you made the world, and knew what was acceptable in your sight, and right in your commandments. O send her out of your holy heavens, and from the throne of your glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing to you. For she knows and understands all things, and she will lead me soberly in my doings, and preserve me in her power. So will my works be acceptable, and then I will judge your people righteously, and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. For what man is he that can know the counsel of God, or who can think what the will of the Lord is? For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. For the corruptible body presses down the soul, and the earthy tabernacle weighs down the mind that muses upon many things. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth, and with labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in heaven, who has searched out? And your counsel who has known, except if you give wisdom, and send your Holy Spirit from above? For so the ways of them that lived on the earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing to you, and were saved through wisdom. She preserved the first formed father of the world, that was created alone, and brought him out of his fall, and gave him power to rule all things. But when the unrighteous went away with her from his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. For whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless to God, and kept him strong against his tender compassion toward his Son. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire that fell down upon the 5 cities, of whose wickedness even to this day the waste land that smokes is a testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. For regarding not wisdom, they gat not only this hurt, that they knew not the things that were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offended they could not so much as be hid. But wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, showed him the kingdom of God, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travels, and multiplied the fruit of his labors. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him, and made him rich. She defended him from his enemies, and kept him safe from those that lay in wait. And in a sore conflict she gave him victory, that he might know that goodness is stronger than all. When the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit, and left him not in bonds, till she brought him to the scepter of the kingdom, and power against those that oppressed him. As for them that had accused him, she showed them to be liars, and gave him perpetual glory. She delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. She entered into the soul of the servant of the Lord, and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs, rendered to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was to them for a cover by day, and a light of stars in the night season, brought them through the Red Sea, and led them through much water. But she drowned their enemies, and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly, and praised your holy name, O Lord, and magnified with one accord your hand that fought for them. For wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb, and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent. She prospered their works in the hand of the holy prophets. They went through the wilderness that was not inhabited, and pitched tents in places where there lay no way. They stood against their enemies, and were avenged of their adversaries. When they were thirsty, they called upon you, and water was given to them out of the flinty rock, and their thirst was quenched out of the hard stone. For by what things their enemies were punished, by the same they in their need were benefited. For instead of a perpetual running river troubled with foul blood, for a manifest reproof of that commandment, whereby the infants were slain, you gave to them an abundance of water by a means that they hoped not for, declaring by that thirst then how you have punished their adversaries. For when they were tried, albeit but in mercy chastised, they knew how the ungodly were judged in wrath and tormented, thirsting in another manner than the just. For these you did admonish and try, as a father, but the other, as a severe king, you did condemn and punish. Whether they were absent or present, they were vexed alike. For a double grief came upon them, and a groaning for the remembrance of things past. For when they heard by their own punishments the other to be benefited, they had some feeling of the Lord, for whom they respected with scorn, when he was long before thrown out at the casting forth of the infants. Him in the end, when they saw what came to pass, they admired. But for the foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived they worshipped serpents void of reason, and vile beasts, you did send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance, that they might know that wherewithal a man sins, by the same also will he be punished. For your almighty hand, that made the world of matter without form, wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears or fierce lions, or unknown wild beasts, full of rage, newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor, or filthy scents of scattered smoke, or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes, whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them. Yea, and without these they might have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance, and scattered abroad through the breath of your power, and you have ordered all things in measure and number and weight. For you can show your great strength at all times when you will, and who may withstand the power of your arm? For the whole world before you is as a little grain of the balance, yea, as a drop of the morning dew that falls down upon the earth. But you have mercy upon all, for you can do all things, and wink at the sins of men, because they should amend. For you love all the things that are, and abhor nothing that you have made. For never would you have made anything if you had hated it, and how could anything have endured if it had not been your will, or been preserved, if not called by you? But you spare all, for they are yours, O Lord, lover of souls.